Hey, everybody. Bro, this is, I guess, our first official live chat. And if you noticed, I am missing my co host tonight. What's going on is Shrock had a hair appointment and it's running late. So I'm solo today. But when she gets in here, she will join me. I know we're just starting off our new channel, so these live chats, I'm still learning. We are still learning, and it's gonna probably gonna take a while to get a lot of folks used to this and joining us. But if you are watching, if you could just put in a little, put in a little note, say hello, that'd be great. Just so I know who's out there. Hi, everyone. Um, Today's topic, we are going to cover, can Scott Peterson be set free? We did an episode last week on this and want to talk about a little bit more. Now, Shrock left me some notes here, some questions and some things to cover. So we'll definitely get into that. Okay, I see 4 concurrent users, viewers. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining. If you're just joining in, I was just mentioning that Shrock, unfortunately, is running late. She had an appointment, and hopefully she'll be joining me soon. But meanwhile, I am solo until she gets here, so no worries at all. So today we're going to talk about, when we bring it up, we're going to talk about the Scott Peterson, let me bring this up here. Can Scott be set free? And actually, let me switch over to the other screen. I apologize, guys. Again, just getting used to this stuff here. Here we go. That's better. All right. So, what I want to know is if the folks who've watched the episode, if you haven't watched the episode last week, I'll just fill you in. So, the Lacey Scott Peterson case, that was way back in 2002, I believe, somewhere in the early 2000s. And basically, Scott was having some affairs, and at some point, his wife went missing, and she was pregnant. And there's a lot of, this case was huge back then. I mean, it was like global. Everybody was talking about this case. But to make a long story short, he was found guilty of murdering his wife. And I'm not doing his justice. There's just so much to this. But go check out either a previous episode or definitely look online, Google it. You'll get so much information on this. But many, many years have passed. I think in 2012 he went for appeal, and that was shot down. But what's interesting is the resurfacing of this case, because what's going on is that this Los Angeles project that I talked about, let me bring that slide up. Okay, let me bring that one up. So this Los Angeles Innocent Project got involved, and I'll be curious. I want to dig in a little deeper and see, their feelings on this, or try to see why they took this one on. Because as you can see, they have a pretty good record. I mean, 43% of clients are proven innocent that they take on, their clients. 42 were confirmed guilty. 15% were evidence that was inconclusive. So, I mean, I know it's roughly a 50-50 shot, but they must feel something with this case that they believe Scott to be innocent, possibly. And what I mentioned during last episode is there's a few factors that they're looking into. But really what it comes down to for this case to get reopened is they're going to test the DNA just to back up. Around the time of Lacey's disappearance, his wife, there was a robbery across the street, and they're thinking this might have something to do with it. Maybe she was taken by these robbers and was taken care of that way. And they're thinking some of the items that was in the van that they used might have DNA that was not Scott's. So I want to know what you guys think in terms of, oh, Joe A. Hey, Joe, how you doing? Thank you so much for joining, Joe. That's awesome. So I wanted to kind of find out from you guys what you think in terms of just, first of all, overall, if you're familiar with the Scott Peterson case, do you think that he has any chance? Do you think that it's just basically smoke and mirrors in terms of, you know, the whole DNA thing? Do you think it's like a big waste of time? Do you think he's just fooling this LA Innocence Project? Let me know. Be curious to see what you guys think. If you can put it in the chat, let me know. Um, anyhow, so I see we dropped down a little bit. So, any event, personally, I think that if the DNA comes back and there's anything on that hammer or on that mattress, you bet there. I would think there's an excellent chance of reopening the case. So it goes into the next part of this, which is which aspect of the case would they go after? So there's a few things that I found interesting because way back when, many years ago, the whole media was against Scott no matter what. They were like, oh yeah, this guy's guilty. And let's face it, he's down near Mexico, changes his hair, grows facial hair, has $10,000, has his brother's IDs. Of course, I think he's running for the border basically. But they have an excuse for everything. Oh, he was golfing down there. He wasn't going to try to do the border. He had the money because they transferred money. There's all this stuff that basically they're trying to have an excuse for everything. So I don't know if I buy it. But back then, it was so obvious. I mean, he went fishing. He was out in the water, and they found her in the bay. So and he told everybody he was going golfing. So there's a lot of suspicious stuff going on there. So let's face it, back then Scott was after him because, he was a cheater and his wife was pregnant and it was awful. But what's interesting is that you have, some people that have come out and said, hey, listen, I saw Lacey walking her dog, between 10 and 10:30. And it was interesting because in the appeal document, I was looking in there that came out in 2012. And they took one person that said, oh, I saw Lacey's dog, with his leash on running around 10:18, and they were able to narrow down the time frame based on, receipts that they have and things like that. But you have like at least 5 other people swearing that they saw Lacey walking her dog, a pregnant woman with the same description of the dog, without a coat, so it seemed like the prosecution went with the one person that fit their narrative. But what about the other 5? It was a footnote. And the footnote in the court document wasn't even like anywhere near the area of talking about the dog. It was just really weird. So when I was watching this documentary on this, I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, could it be possible that, Lacey was alive after Scott left? Because Scott left around 10:08. I think they were able to triangulate based on his call information, all that he was out the door at 10:08. So if one person had seen her at any time around there, that means pretty much Scott's innocent, right? So that's why I'm like finding if they find DNA and this case gets reopened, I'm sure they're going to talk about this piece of it. For those who are still on watching, please chime in what piece of evidence you think is the strongest. Another interesting part, which I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't even know. But a gentleman swore he saw Scott that morning with his little boat heading out there. And where he was on the dock or where he was located, he could look right down into the boat. And he's like, he didn't see anything that would resemble or be big enough to be a body. And that's I think it's like 14 feet. It's very small. I've been on boats like a couple feet bigger than that, small fishing boats, and it's tiny. And it brings it to the next part. And I wish Shirok was here. Man, I miss my co-host because she balances me out for sure. But basically what she uncovered was that 4 times they try to simulate taking, I know it's a bad, I don't want to use a bad word, but dead weight, basically simulating a body and trying to put it over that small boat, same type of boat, exact for exact. And never mind the weights that were supposedly tied to the body. And every time they basically capsized the boat. Now, maybe somebody who's a little bit, you could say, well, maybe that person was as what do you call it? Didn't have the right balancing. Maybe was all off there. But anyhow, he did a good job of reenacting this, and we've seen the video, and it's pretty interesting. And I should put it, if I remember, I'll put it on the in the comment section description below. So basically, yeah, they capsized the boat like 3 or 4 times. It's crazy. So that made you think, like, well, wow, if that is the case, how can Scott even be able to pull this off? Now, personally, like we said in the last video, Chirac and I, we're independently looking at this. There's not enough information. I mean, to be honest with you, right now, based on even this new information, it makes me go, huh? But, there's still not a lot of information one way or the other, meaning this is still all hearsay. I'd like to see it like under oath or more documentation. I'm open-minded to everything, but I can't say that this new information is 100% accurate. That was like 22 years ago, So it's interesting. So that's another aspect to this. And the time where they saw the van was another piece of this whole thing in terms of, okay, what time did they think they saw the burglary? And I know they said, oh, the robbery was on one day. Somebody said it was on another day. But the bottom line is, it doesn't seem like originally they really looked hard in all the information. And I'm wondering if the defense was that good if they didn't bring this all up. But again, I'm not saying he's innocent at all. Please don't think I'm leading that way. But I like to see a case where all the information is brought forward and weighed evenly. We've seen many times in the cases that we cover, and Chirac and I watch tons and tons of cases in the documentary. We pick certain ones that we feel that we're passionate about, and we wish we could cover. Yeah, we're a channel like we wish we could cover like 10 or 20 of these particular cases. But the problem is that if you go too broad, you're more of a storytelling show, and we like to go in a little deeper. And there's only so many you can do within certain amount of quality. And the ones that we're picking, for the most part, there's like updates, like the Peterson case is getting revved up again. The Morphew case, not to go too off track this topic, but they just had the autopsy report, and that was kind of very interesting on that. The Watts case is kind of still never really, still open-ended with the whole NK and other types of things that are not really, closed up. And of course, the Jennifer Dulis case. We live in Connecticut, so you got the Kent and Michelle Troconis. They're still going through their sentencing and trial, and they never found the body. So that's a lot of stuff going on. So anywho, sorry I went off way off track there for a second. But this type of case, there's a lot of cases that we see where if once they get a narrative and once they find their bad person, and I'm not saying all detectives and everybody does this. I'm not saying that at all. But a lot of times, a department doesn't want to get egg on their face, and they want to, once they got that person, they're all in. And let's face it, some prosecution is really awesome, and some defense, you get what you pay for. So in any event, way back when I was keeping track of this case many, many years ago when this was out, what we saw and what was brought through the media, and the media is very, very powerful. And what we saw there was just like, there's no way this guy definitely did it. And even though this brings up some interesting information, we're going to see. So again, I know there's not many folks on, we just started these live. This is actually our first real one. We're going to have more of these every week, and they'll be more robust. We're going to try to have these related to like a recent episode and talk about it. Or what we may do is take turns and talk about the case in general. We're definitely going to try to get more people. I think there's a lot of folks that still don't know that we just started this. This is our first one on Tuesday, but we're going to make this routine so we can have it and be interactive, because we like to know what you guys think as well. I mean, we consider you guys like our family in terms of figuring this out together and working it and talking it out. Again, what we do, and let me show you here is let's see if it's seeing on my screen here. Here, I'll blow it up a little bit. But basically, this is our crime board, and this was specifically on the Peterson case. And I'd like to go through this a little bit more. So, what this is, if you guys haven't seen it before, if you're new here, if you just found us and you're joining us for the first time, or maybe you've seen one of our videos and haven't seen this, we do a crime board for every case that we cover, and we try to take the key aspects of the case. And what we do is we say, okay, this information is fact. This is kind of understood. And not so much on this one. We have on other cases. What we do is we put questions out to our community. You guys vote on it. And then what we'll say is up in blue, we would have, community vote or something like that. And based on the vote, we'll say, okay, we feel that this person is a suspect, or we feel this is what happened to that person, or wherever the case may be. So you can see on the Peterson case, the reason why there's a question mark during, where it happened is because you have some people that say, well, it happened at the house. You have some people say it happened off site. You have some folks saying, oh, it happened, at a different location. That might be an interesting topic. Another one is the motive. Well, we think, we know what the motive is, right? It's related to, he didn't want to have a child. He wanted to have a girlfriend. But unlike the Watts case, it's not really that clear set. And I, to be honest with you, I haven't gotten into the financial aspect of this, because that's another key aspect that tends to pop up here. And sometimes what I'm finding is a lot of these cases, as we dig into them a little deeper and you read between the lines, and actually one came up when we did the AI case with Watts, is that sometimes you uncover there might be more than one motive, meaning like for example, okay, I want to be with so-and-so instead of my wife. Oh, and we're in so much debt. If I do X, Y, and Z, it will take care of X, Y, and Z. So therefore, there might be more than one motive. There might be some sub-motives. And on here, just moving across to the question marks, how she was, murdered. So there was some question there as to, how. And then, of course, the suspects. And you can see on there, I have Scott Peterson, but I also have some of the robbers there, the burglars. So, it'd still be determined as to, what comes out of this. But I'm going to go to Chirac's notes, because she was really awesome. She knew she'd probably be running late. So she gave me some notes to run through to talk about. So we talked about the LA Innocence Project. That's the folks that are helping Scott Peterson take this on, bring it back to court to try to get the case. Oh, let me mention that. Let's see if I have the dates for that here. Sorry, guys. I apologize. I thought I have the date. Yeah, here it is. So, and I have to double check to see if these dates have changed. But the additional hearings for the DNA evidence and discovery are scheduled for May 29th, because that's coming up. There's a lot of stuff coming up this month. We have the Scott Peterson. I think there might be something on Kent for the Dulos case. Michelle Troconis she gets her sentencing. Oh boy, I know I'm missing something else. Oh boy, there's another case. Let's see, to do. Oh, Morphew. Yeah, there's a few things coming up this month. But basically, discovery for the DNA is May 29th and then July 15th. I'm assuming, I have to look into it. I have to see if I can go on to, see, in Connecticut, you can go into courtcase.com and you can kind of find the schedule. And sometimes you can find a little bit more information, like what is going on. But in some states, I don't know if it's as robust as that. So this whole new appeal thing hinges on this. So it'll be interesting to see if it's going to fall through. All right, let's see what else here. So we talked about December 20. Oh yeah, that's about, we talked about that. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Okay, this what I did is I took her notes and I put it into a picture so I can see she asked, what if Scott was found innocent. Wow. If Scott is to be found innocent, it'd be interesting to see, on what grounds. But if he did, you could you could tell he would probably sue the state, I would think. You see that with Barry Morphew, where his charges were dropped, or he was let go, and he's suing for, like, I think 2.5 million or something like that. So if Scott Peterson was let free, I'm sure there'd be some kind of case involved there. Let's see, what else are some of the other questions here. And if you guys have questions, please put them in the chat. I would love to answer any questions as far as what I know. And if I don't know the answer, I love to find the answer. Is there important, relevant information missing? What is unknown? DNA case linked to Scott Lacey murder. Oh, I think we answered that one. Is any important, relevant? Well, that's a good. So one of the question here is there any missing relevant information to this case? Of course, we don't really know. But sometimes when you go look through previous court documentation, you can find certain things that are mentioned, but not gone into the detail that they probably should have. So for her question, I didn't find anything really that stood out, that I can say, oh, there's information that they might bring up. I think I sound like a broken record, but I think it goes back to, you need the DNA evidence to reap some benefits, meaning to say, yeah, they found Lacey's DNA. That'd be huge, because they know that was in the van, and they're going to treat all that other information a lot more seriously and, and vigorously. But going back to the very beginning, when this case broke open, I remember, and if any of you guys have watched any documentaries on this, I remember this from the beginning, when Scott wasn't even a suspect. I remember it being on the news, and they were talking about it, and they were doing these. I think they held like a vigil, or like I remember something on a green. They were doing something where they're praying, and people are looking for her. And then slowly but surely they were talking about, oh, Scott doesn't look like he doesn't look like a grieving husband. And Shrock and I talked about this in one of our episodes. And, we see that a lot, and a lot of people don't realize, not everybody. Yeah, that is an indicator. Don't get me wrong. I wish Shrock was here, because she has that, behavioral psychology background. But basically, let's see, who's that? Hey, Jen H. Hey, hey, Jen. I want to say hi, Jen. Hi, Jen. Thanks for joining. Sorry, it's a little, it's a little dull today, because not my co-host. She's at an appointment, and she's running late. So it's a good dynamic. So I'm kind of filling in for both shoes. So I'm trying here. She left me some notes that she want to talk about, but hopefully she'll be here in a little bit. She can join. If not, you got to catch next week. She'll definitely be here next week. But basically what I was just saying is that a lot of times people make their judgment about how people act. And don't get me wrong. Usually a person will be, sad that, yeah, your wife is missing, or your husband's missing. You're going to be like freaking out. You're going to be crying. You're going to be emotional. But without getting into some medical things or what have you, even just personality wise, some people are just like, they're just in lava land. They just don't know how to handle it. And of course, if you are guilty, you're going to act, very disconnected as well. But, it didn't mean that Scott was necessarily guilty. What he was guilty definitely of was cheating. And again, I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm just saying he might have felt disconnected just for the sake of, he had a lot to hide. And if he is, right now he's proven guilty as we speak, he's probably got a lot more to hide. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're guilty. And unfortunately, we know the weapon of the news. So, but I'm just going back to way back when, definitely shifted in my mind back then. when, and I think everybody did, is when the mistress came out, and that really did it. Let's see if I have it here. Yeah, Amber Fry. Yeah, key. This is the key. I'm just leaving this up here. This is the key evidence. But basically, yeah, when Amber Fry came out, I mean, oh my God, they played that over and over and over and over and over. That was like, whoa. And I think, I mean, your natural reactions be like, guilty. He wanted to be with her. But he wasn't with her that long. So it's just really interesting, comparison with the Watts case again. But anyhow, yeah, I think, I think the media just, and everybody, it didn't matter what that dude did. He could have probably bawled afterwards and cried on, TV. And I think he did a little bit when he was interviewed, but it just didn't come off as, he just doesn't come across as likable and authentic, period. Some people don't have that charisma. There's some people that have it, and he didn't, that's for sure. So what's really interesting is, the way they went after him. And then it's so funny because even back then, I'm a very independent person. I'm independent in everything. I don't like to be, associated, like politically. I'm independent. I always like to think for myself and really have all the information and kind of see where things lead, and try not to get hung up on things that may not be that more peripheral. I can't even talk. More things are more root of the situation. Sorry, I'm Italian, so I talk. I hit the microphone 10,000 times. So anyhow, really quickly. So, I want to get into really understanding what's going on. Well, it's hard to do that when you're getting blasted with all these different things on the news. But I'm telling you, once they said they found him and he looked, I'm forgot seeing the news. His hair's all like red and stuff. His face is got a goatee. I mean, and what a look. He'd even like look like with good facial hair where he looks like more like a teddy bear, like more softer look. No, he looks like, like not more sorry, that extreme. They look like, try to look like a tough guy. I'm like, what the hell? And then you hear, oh, he's got 10 grand, 10 G. What the heck is that? Oh, he was taking the money because he accidentally took it out of some bank. I forgot. There's a whole story behind it. I'll be honest with you. I should pay more attention to him. I'm like, whatever. And, he has his ideas, his brother. Oh, he's getting his brother back his idea. The whole thing is whatever. Now, is that small chance, a one chance in a lottery that he just wanted to run away because he feel like he was guilty no matter what and he just wanted to run away, period? Yeah, of course. But anyhow, I am going to be making no judgments until we find out what the DNA says. And now I'd be curious. Now, it's still, there's a possibility where the DNA comes out negative and he could be innocent based on some of those other factors. But you have to go what's presented in front of you. I know Shrock and I, and again, I appreciate the folks, Jen and Joe. Thank you guys so much for joining in. I really appreciate it. Sorry we don't have a lot more people on. We'll do a better job of marketing this and let people know. And of course, with Shrock, it's much more interesting when she's here. She provides a lot of logic and a lot of good information as we go along, and she's a good balancing between what I think and what's going on. But before I call it a night here, I think I've lost my train of thought. All right, hi Jen. The media took off after him after Amber came out. People made their minds up. Yeah, excellent, Jen. Yeah, his alibi was released to the media at the same time where he was fishing. Yeah, because he told there's a lot of people that said, oh, he said he was going golfing and, released at the same time where he was fishing. Yeah, I agreed. And that, to be honest with you, like, I would be a liar to say that when that came out, I was like, oh, guilty, because let's face it, if you go by statistics, a lot of time it is the husband. And I've heard some numbers, but who knows how accurate that is, if it's 80% or have you. But let's face the facts. It happens a lot that person is usually guilty a lot of times. So back then I was like, I went with the wave too. I'm like, oh, this dude's guilty. But I tell you what really killed me was when they found him like near Mexico. Now, do I to believe all that the money was for this, the idea was for that, and he, changed his appearance because the media can know who you are. I mean, it wasn't that like, it wasn't the Pink Panther or something. It was like really disguised. But anywho, that did it for me. I'm like, oh my goodness, really? So, but again, it would be interesting. So, really quickly, what Shirok and I try not to do really hard with this channel, and again, thank you guys. We are still learning everything. This live stream is so new to us. We're trying to learn all these different tools and how they link up together. I hope, I'm glad it even worked today, to be honest with you. So I just appreciate, you guys being in there, hanging in with us, and it will grow. I mean, like I said, we need to do a better job of getting out there because I've had a lot of people say they wanted to join in on these live streams and discuss. And two, we can even look to see if there's a better time or a better day. But what we try to do, Shirok and I, is not get a speculation channel too much. I'm not saying we won't do speculation. You have to sometimes, right? You start your way to data analytics. You take the information, the court cases, what you have. You look at the data, you find patterns, and you work, okay, you got from there what's been reported as fact. Okay, then you go down a layer to say, okay, you don't really have as much, so you use logic. And if you can't use logic, then you kind of get into speculation. So we try to put that off at the end. Sometimes you have to because there's nothing there, but we don't like to throw out a lot of weird, hearsay. But anywho, Joe and Jen, thank you so much. I'm going to cut it a little short tonight only because I don't think Shirok would have been here probably by now. She's probably running really late, so I don't want to hold her up. And I don't think I did a good job with this tonight because, we had some interactions set up for a discussion. But it means a lot, Joe and Jen, that you guys joined in and others who are out there. And I really appreciate it. We just let you know, we have an episode coming out Thursday. It's going to be an update on Kent in the Jennifer Dulos case. So if you're interested in that, you want to check it out. It's kind of a quick episode. It's not really lengthy. Shirok and I, in hindsight, thought that we probably could have done a short or something, maybe in a live chat or something to go over that. But it's a quick episode. A really good one after that is on Friday. We're going to talk about Survey 319 with Chris Watts. One of our first episodes we did was on Survey 319 that Chris only had 38 minutes at Survey 319. I do a minute by minute discussion of what happened between the time he left home and the time his coworker showed up. So what I did is way back when I took a lot of court documentation, but I also took a lot of stuff off the internet. It was our first episode we did on true crime. So I learned my lesson that some of the information I found wasn't really accurate. So after that episode, I learned my lesson. I'm always going to use legal or court documentation. I'm never going to find stuff on Reddit or whatever. So this one, I do a little bit of a revisit, but it's not just revisiting. I find more information and more insights into that, which I think you're going to find interesting, like where Chris's truck was parked and, not to get too crazy, but, how much it takes to walk certain distances, where everything was like lined up, things like that. I'm giving some of it away, but there's some other information in terms where I do, okay, he had so much minutes. Let's take that apart. How long would it take for him to do this, and this in that time frame? And then you can judge. And at the end, I put some questions. What do you really think happened? It's very interesting. But now the new evidence, he could be innocent. I'm on the fence. Very curious to see this out. See you next time. Yeah, the Watts case is what got me watching your channel. Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll definitely have one. Oh my goodness. So Jen, thank you for joining. Just really quickly before you go, let me tell you, the Watts case, it's almost 2,000 pages in one of the court documents, right? I'm going through it, and I'm like, there's some weird stuff. I told Shirok we got to do a couple episodes. One is about all the letters. There's so much like mail that's in that document. I know a lot of their channels that cover it, but there's so much in there. Another one's a weird thing. They have like Chris's underwear somebody was trying to put up for sale. There's just like a lot of weird odds and ends that I want to talk about in there. And there's some other things. We got more Watts coming up, but definitely check it. If you like the Watts case, Friday's going to be a good one. That one you want to check out because it's very analytical. I go minute by minute again. I break it all down. And in a couple weeks, we have one about, is Chris going to appeal his case? That's more of reaction. We don't do reaction ones too often, but sometimes if it's based on something we find interesting, we'll react once in a while, but we try to bring the content to you. So we got those coming up. We got live streams every week. I think the following week will be, since you guys joined, you get all the little insights. See? So this week we got those two. Next week we got another Scott Peterson case. Oh, cool. Thanks. Have a great night, Jen. Thank you for listening. But next week we got another Peterson case specifically talking about Lacey and walking her dog. We deep dive a little bit more into that. And of course, the following week is the one I mentioned about Chris Watts and his appeal. So with that, I want to say thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. And Shrock will be with me next time for sure. I feel bad you got me tonight, but you guys are great, the ones that participated. Thank you so much. And I will be talking to you guys all soon. Thank you.